that would have made a lot more sense. Make the S and the X model, that would have fallen in line with the Xbox model.
100%. No, they left off. They left off the last S for savings.
There's the intro. I was waiting for it. Okay. Bid? Ooh, a bid. I think I got it. Think it's going. Yes, I got it. Now I have every single NES game ever made. Yes, I got that out of my house. Dude, check it out, check it out. I got it. Oh, what'd you get? RC Pro-Am. Where'd you get it? I got it on Encore. It's like TikTok, but what's the matter? Whether you're looking to complete your collection or you want to get some old stuff out of your house, Encore is the new place to learn about and shop for video games and collectibles. The app looks like TikTok, but it's made for selling things, so you basically scroll through until something catches your eye, and then right on screen you can see the current bid, and you can bid with a simple swipe. If you use my link in the description, you'll get $200 in credit to spend on Encore. If you're a seller, all you have to do is upload a 30 to 60 second clip showing off your listing and set it as an auction or as a buy now, and then Encore does the rest for you. Shipping labels are generated in the app. All you have to do once your item sells is print it off, box it up, and ship it out. I love collecting old games, so I swipe through anytime I'm kind of bored and I see what ones jump out at me. There's this little icon on the right that I press anytime I want to be notified when there's going to be only 5 minutes left on that auction, and then sometimes I pick them up. The thing I like about it is you can actually see a video of what you're buying, so you get a good idea of what kind of condition it's in. And Encore takes trust seriously, as every single seller on Encore is ID verified. Again, if you use my link down below, you're going to get $200 of credit to spend in the Encore app. Let me know in the comments what you end up buying, or maybe what you end up selling. And a big thanks to Encore for sponsoring this episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the NerdNest podcast. Carrie, you tried that and it didn't work this time, but I saw it and I appreciate it. I'm Bill Fairchild, your host, and I'm joined here by Russ Crandall. What's going on, Russ?
Hey man, nothing much. Just happy to be here, hang out with you guys.
Awesome. Rich is also here. What's going on, Russ? Rich, damn it.
And we're back.
Yeah, here we are. I'm happy to be here too, guys.
Just in the pre-show, before we hit record, I was just saying, guys, we've been doing this for a couple of years at this point, and we cannot get it right. And then I immediately call Rich Russ, which is something that I think I did for like 12 episodes.
In the same sentence.
Right, yeah, in the same sentence.
Rich, how you doing, Russ?
Is that what I did?
That is what you did.
Oh, God. It's a good thing I'm pretty. Carrie, what's going on, man?
No, I'm just having a great time here, guys. It's always a pleasure every week.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, including how much of Steam is AI slop. We've got used games can get your Nintendo Switch banned. We've got leaked prices for handhelds. We've got tons that we're going to talk about. But I figured that we could start off with this huge issue that we on this panel predicted months ago when the MIG. It used to be called the MIG Switch, and then they changed its name to the MIG Cart?
Flash.
MIG Flash, yes. They changed its name to the MIG Flash. And essentially, what we predicted is that it was going to hurt the secondary sellers market because, there's motorcycles going by my house. I'm going to show all those guys. I can't hide it. I'm going to show those guys a finger. You guys don't know which finger it is, but I bet you can guess. So we said that that was probably going to hurt the secondary market. And I even joked that I thought maybe Nintendo was behind the MIG Flash to hurt the secondary market. That was a joke. I didn't mean it. But now it is affecting the secondary market because this is over on PC Gamer, and it's from Hope Corrington. They said a Nintendo Switch 2 user recently got his brand new console banned by Nintendo after buying a used Switch 1 game and then patching them on his console. Number one, not surprised even a little. Number two, this is why I don't think of the MIG Flash as a piracy device, even though Nintendo does. Rich, what do you think about this story?
It sucks. Like, yeah, it's really unfortunate because people are harmed by this, right? So not only thankfully they got unbanned, right? But this just adds a layer of complexity to navigating the used marketplace and really kind of shuts that down to a degree, right? Like how likely is I would think a savvy buyer is much less likely to buy used games now, right? So just as you were joking at the beginning, yeah, it hurts the used market, and like there's no way necessarily to be like, oh, this is authenticated, not been pirated before, or not been backed up and then sold, right? So there's no way to authenticate that right now. So it just sucks for everybody. I think not even. It's not good for Nintendo. It's not good for customers. The only person that benefits is the person that backed up the game and then sold it.
Well, and I don't think that they actually benefited, because I would assume that if this user D Manthe from the Reddit post got banned, it's because Nintendo detected 2 copies of the same game at the same time. And so I would assume that the other person, the person who did this, probably got banned too, which is why it doesn't make sense to buy a MIG Flash and then use it for piracy. Russ, do you want to explain to everybody exactly how the MIG Flash works, since you actually used one for a video?
Yeah, so it's basically like there's 2 components to it. There's a cartridge reader, and then there's a cart itself. And so the cartridge reader, you just put your Switch inside of it, plug it into your computer, and then it dumps all the data into a file, like a folder, basically. And then you can use that to basically play it on emulators or whatever. But the other thing you can do is you can transfer that over to an SD card and then use the MIG Flash cartridge, which looks like a Switch cartridge, and then put that in your Switch, and then have a bunch of games on just one cartridge. So you can kind of flip through your back catalog without having to change out the cartridge. And so it sounds like this guy, say there's two people here, person A and person B. So person A, maybe he bought or whatever, he got a hold of some Switch cartridges, used his dumper, pulled them off, put them on a cart or whatever he's doing with them, and then sold off those original cartridges because he's like, well, I got my backups, I don't need these. And then the person who bought those backups used on Facebook Marketplace they put that in their Switch too, and then they got their console banned. And so the idea here is that they were probably playing the same game at the same time. It got picked up on Nintendo servers. But the thing that really kind of worries me about this whole thing is that the guy who bought the used games, in order to get his stuff unbanned, he had to show them a screenshot of his receipt or the fact that he had purchased them on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. He had to show that he bought them used. Now, say I did that and I backed up my own games, and then one of my kids throws in one of their original cartridges in one of my other Switches at the same time that I'm playing the same game on my Switch too, then I get banned. If I try to call up Nintendo and say, hey, can you unban me? Like, sure, show us the fact that you bought this used. I'm like, well, I didn't. I bought it new. You know what I mean? So I might be in a position where I cannot get my console unbanned in the same way that person who just innocently bought their used game got banned. And so that's kind of a unique thing for me too, is I got to be very wary. I mean, I've always been very wary about this, making sure my kids aren't playing the same game as I'm playing a backup, but that does make me a little bit worried that I won't be able to get unbanned either.
You're going to need a Switch cartridge safe that your kids don't know the combination to, just to make sure that it doesn't happen, and they'll have to come to you and be like, Dad, can I play Mario Odyssey? Hold on, son, I'm playing it right now. You're going to have to wait an hour, and then don't look at the combination while I open this safe up.
Yeah. It's weird because it's like the majority of the time when I'm using my MIG Switch is when I'm on travel, because I don't want to take a bunch of cartridges with me. I could just take one and then put all the games on that. And then when I'm on a plane or whatever, I can switch between my games without having to mess around with cartridges. But that's prime time for my kids to play the same game too, because maybe it's on a weekend. Usually I don't have to worry about that because they're at school or whatever. But yeah, it's just another layer of worry that I have now, especially because that person put it in their Switch too, and that's what caused this. And so it's a little bit scary.
Carrie, do you think that this is going to have a big impact on the secondary market, or do you think that most consumers are probably not in the know enough to be wary about this thing happening?
I think that it'll probably blow up a lot more when GameFly type of problems start happening. The GameFly rental service that ships Switch One games.
Is that still around?
Yeah, GameFly still
I had
exists.
no idea.
Yeah, so why buy a game when you could just rent them, like, and just pop them in, copy it, send it back out, and just do it far faster for far cheaper than buying and then reselling. So that's going to be a whole crap show because who knows how bad GameFly's supply is going to be. So yeah, I have to wonder. Everyone is going to be very cautious, and it'll probably, to the benefit of Nintendo, make people not want to buy used Switch One games anymore. So, as far as I'm aware, this is only banning the Switch 2 console, right? We haven't heard anything for banning Switch 1 consoles.
As far as I know, but
I've heard
go
a lot
ahead,
of
Russ.
conjecture. Yeah, I've heard a lot of conjecture and people saying it and stuff, but I've never really seen any proof of that.
Yeah,
but you make a good point about the GameFly thing too, because that could exponentially get bad, right?
Yeah,
because one guy does it, the next guy backs it up, and so you've got more. It's not exponential, but linear. But still, more and more people have the opportunity to play the game at the same time.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty bad.
I was thinking about that with regard to even just the Facebook Marketplace receipt, right? So like if I show my receipt, but like what if I did buy it used and then I backed it up and then I sold it, right? So like, and the person that I bought it from also did the same thing. And then I show my receipt. Am I also obligated to show my cart? Like what are we doing exactly?
Yeah.
But what if you bought it at a yard sale? Like, I don't know what goes on where you guys live, but right now is like prime yard sale time. So when I drive down the road at where I live, there's like constantly you see people like sitting in their driveway with like little umbrella chairs, and all of their belongings are in the driveway. Like that happens here all the time. And you might swing in there and be like, "Oh, look at this." Little Jimmy went off to college and decided that he didn't want to bring all of his games with him, so mom is selling them. When I got back from the army, I found out my mom sold all of my Star Wars toys. I know.
Brutal.
I know. The Kenner Star Wars toys from the 70s. But anyway, and then I buy it from there. I don't get receipts from yard sales. What am I what are you supposed to do in that case?
I mean, there was a funny thing where I was on a Twitter post somewhere. He was like, I told Amazon support that I didn't receive a package, and they told me to take a picture to show proof I didn't get it. So he had empty hands. He took a picture of his empty hands. He's like, there it is. I didn't get it. It's just like,
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. I don't understand what they like. Honestly, it's just really the MIG Flash wasn't really ready, right? Like this was not a product.
I think the biggest problem I have for the MIG Switch is that they came out at the very tail end of the Switch 1 generation. And if they had just waited 1 year, they could have just had Nintendo be completely unaware, and then maybe it wouldn't be as bad. But they basically primed Nintendo to be like, oh, let's figure this out so that this doesn't work. Yeah. And it's I don't know. For me, I think we're not going to see anything until more Switch 2s are out there, because as far as I'm aware, it's the Switch 2s that are getting hammered for no online stuff. And Switch 1s, so far, I haven't actually seen actual photo proof. So there's 150 million Switches out there, and a GameFly and everyone's swapping around, so no one cares. I actually went to GameStop buy me, because I have a $5 off thing, and I just was looking to use it. And when I was there, someone was returning Donkey Kong, the new one, because they only have a Switch 1. They don't have a Switch 2.
Ouch.
And the game, they're like, you already opened this. We can't return this. And he's like, but I don't own a Switch 2. And they're like, it was a brutal thing. So I was like, oh God, that's awful. But I feel like there's still a bunch of people that still do not, there's 5 million Switch 2s out there, but there's still a bunch of people that have Switch 1s. And until we see more Switch 2s come out and all of these things starts building up, that's going to be a huge headache for Nintendo. I don't know if where this nets out for them, because this will either force people to buy only new games or to buy digital, in which case Nintendo wins in both respects, and they don't care how much this angers people. I don't know. For what it's worth, I did not anticipate Nintendo to hammer legit carts. I was like, they're going to be able to detect that, but I guess they can't. And
Yeah, they can't tell the difference between them. That's what makes it useful, is because it's a good way to back up your games.
Right,
It's not a good way to pirate games, though.
No, yeah, it's So banning wonton banning when you can't discern if it's a legit cart is a step I think that I did not anticipate Nintendo going myself personally. I saw them doing the MIG Switch one, but the one where it's the actual cart themselves, that seems like just like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I don't know. That's a decision I wouldn't have made.
Yeah.
What were you saying a minute ago, Rich?
No, I think, yeah, I agree with you, Bill, that that's what makes the MIG switch or MIG flash like attractive, is that it's really like we always had solutions, or for a long time we've had solutions on how to back up your cart, but it was missing the one identifier, right? That made it so that it looked like a legit game. But now that that's out there, that also means that you can copy that identifier so that other people would get caught in this situation. So yeah, I don't know. I also don't think this is Nintendo's problem to fix for the consumer. That's not like completely true, because at the end of the day, these are the consumers for Nintendo products. But like also this problem just comes from the MIG product, I think. Like I don't think this is a Nintendo product problem. This is people trying to circumvent, what Nintendo has put in place. And they're the ones running into the issues. And then the people that buy from those people are having issues. And so like those original buyers are the ones that are doing the backup and then selling. Those are the people that I find kind of to be culpable here. But yeah.
I mean,
tough problem.
I would be okay with like Nintendo doing this if there was like, oh, these people are doing it. It's like a 5-finger discount type of deal. Like they're it's like if you're finding like someone on the street selling a TV for like 10% the cost of what it is, you should have some inkling that it's not not a used thing. But when you're buying a used product, for a fair market value, whatever it is Nintendo, and we always, whenever we talk about Nintendo, we always like, what are they going to do? They're going to go above and beyond what we actually think they're going to do. And
I think they have more lawyers than developers.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Kirby, right? Was Jack Kirby? Is that his name?
The Nintendo lawyer? Yeah,
his name was Kirby something. That's where the Kirby character came from. But he's so tenacious that they and he won some stuff for him that they loved him. And they're like, yeah, it's definitely a part of their arsenal.
Was he the guy that did the Donkey Kong lawsuit?
I don't recall which one it was, but it was something that he was like tenacious with, and they absolutely loved it, like how far he went. And that's where Kirby came from.
Which, by the way, it's freaking hilarious that Nintendo got sued by Universal Pictures for Donkey Kong because of King Kong, which Universal Pictures had already shown that it was that anybody could make a movie about King Kong, because they won a court battle before that anybody could do it. And then they sued Nintendo over it. They lost. And now they're making a Donkey Kong movie, and it's going to be distributed by Universal Pictures. It's just the funniest the circle that there is. Russ, any final thoughts on this MIG switch thing? Because people can use this for legitimate purposes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gonna have to. I'm still gonna use mine, just more safely, just to verify. The guy's name's John Kirby, and it was that Donkey Kong lawsuit. So you guys are correct. Only other comment I have is the whole GameStop thing, like the fact that they wouldn't accept the return. So I just imagine they're like, but we'll buy it back from you for $43. You know what I mean? And then sell it for $55 or whatever. Yeah. I don't know if you guys ever did this, but back in the day, I had a couple buddies. We used to work on a gaming blog, and they did this thing they called the GameStop Shuffle. So if you buy a used game, then you have 7 days to return it, no questions asked. And so they would buy it and then scramble to beat the game, then return it for another one, right? And then they call it a GameStop Shuffle, basically. So they just had a rotating cast of these used games. They were not necessarily good games, but a lot of it was for what do they call it? Achievements or whatever. They wanted those gamer points. And so, yeah, it's just this is all 2007, 2008, just ridiculousness. But anyway, that made me think of it.
I when I was in high school, I worked at a Babbage's, which is
nice.
essentially a GameStop. Yeah. And one of the perks of working there is they had a shrink wrap machine in the back of the house, and they would say, you should be knowledgeable about the things that we're selling. Take any games that you want home with you one at a time, play them, bring them back in. We will re-shrink wrap them and put them back on the shelf. And that's what I did. So I had access to any game I wanted. I still had to buy my own systems, but I could play pretty much any game that I wanted. So I didn't have to do that shuffle. But back in the day, you could buy games and then just return them, no questions asked. And nobody at Babbage's, like, we wouldn't ever say anything. We'd just say, okay, here you go. Here's your money back. Because we didn't run into that problem where people were buying games and then returning them all the time. Like, that frequency happened more often later on after I wasn't working there anymore.
I did run into the other side of that, so the consumer side of that, a couple times where like I had shrink wrapped games where the disc was not clean, like you could tell it's been used. I've also had at least one incident where the disc wasn't in there. And like I had to go through a rigmarole to return it.
Yeah, because you look like the guilty party there. You're
exactly.
Like, so there's a few things about that. From GameStop, I hate that they will, whatever, I understand that they'll just take the game itself. So sometimes they'll send you like a box that's like not the official box with garbage. So when I find like, whenever they have like crazy used game sales, I buy like 3 or 4 of the same used game and then like combine them into one good working copy and then return the rest. And whenever I go there, I'm just like, here, just take these back. They're like, why did you buy so many? I was like, because look at them. Like, look at this. Look at this. I had a Frankenstein one good copy out of all this crap that you gave me. The one thing that actually paid off big time for me on that, which I had not planned, it was like Adventure Time, an Adventure Time game that was like super cheap. Because they ship them off from like different GameStops, right? They like use their own local stores, and a person shipped me a different version of Adventure Time that was like, I don't know, $30 instead of $8. So when I returned it, they gave me $30 back, and I was just like, what's going on? What's going on here? Yeah, it's just a really, really weird thing. But yeah, I forget which used game I actually bought a new game for Switch, and it came completely opened, not even shrink wrapped. The game was in there, and I was like, hey, you guys, came to me like this, and they called it something. They called it like an opener or something.
It's the one that they put on the shelf.
Yeah, they're aware of it, but they were like, yeah, that's just what it is. And I'm like, yeah, can I get a new one? They're like, well, it is new. I said, no, it isn't. like if those people over there bought Donkey Kong, opened it, and you said they can't return it because it's
correct,
right? What kind of double standards are you guys doing here?
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. All right, well, let's move on and talk about Valve for a little bit, because there's this very interesting article that I saw over at totallyhuman.io where they were looking at the number of Steam games that are using generative AI. They said that there's nearly 8,000 games on Steam that disclose that they use Gen AI. Rich, do you remember how many months ago it was that, like, roughly that Valve updated their rules to say that you have to admit to using Gen AI?
Something like 6 to 9 months, I would say.
Yeah. Okay. So sometime within the last year, that thing, people had to start saying, hey, we're using generative AI. What are they using it for? Well, according to this article, they're using it for visual asset generation, audio generation, text and narrative generation, marketing and promotional materials, and code and game logic. And then the disclosures that they're getting, the writer of the article said that it was kind of defensive language that they were using. And they said things like, while AI tools have been used to generate initial ideas or base images, our art team carefully reviews, edits, and refines all AI-assisted content to ensure it meets our quality standards. AI tools help us achieve precision and efficiency in visual creation while maintaining the artistic integrity and distinctiveness that our players love. Okay, so we've been having a conversation about AI in our little private Discord chat that we've been having. And it's kind of gone back and forth about where everybody lands on AI. And Rich, I think that you were making some very interesting points in there. What's your take on this idea that a big number of games, and that number is only going to grow, is using generative AI, which generative AI is where they're like, they're not just using it to proofread things. You know what I mean? What do you think about that, Rich?
Right. So the take that I had, like, it boils down to this disclosure, which, by the way, it was enabled January 2024, so much longer than I thought. So about 18 months now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Time flies.
according to Gemini, at least. So fact check me on that.
Oh, jeez. He's using AI. But guys, get him.
I just Googled it, and you know how Google works, right? Like, it just does the AI overview. And I didn't get a chance to look into it deeper, but yeah. So my take boils down to this disclosure is increasingly meaningless, right? And what I mean by that is it's this, like, this category of things that use AI is so broad that, like, it doesn't meaningfully tell me if I am interested in something that uses AI. It doesn't meaningfully tell me anything about that, right? Because it could either be used for code and game logic, or it could be used for visual asset generation. And so, like, I don't know for the buyer what the buyer is interested in other than like visual and audio asset generation. So I'm curious from, like, commenters, what are they interested in when there's this disclosure, right? Like, what do you care about uses AI? So I also want to give,
you mean like, when is the line to, what's over the line is what you're looking for?
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
I also want to give a little context on this article. So this is written by Ichiro Lam, who is a indie developer, but he's also like a Steam tools kind of person. Like, he, as a hobby, he develops some Steam tools. He may have been a freelance developer for Valve at some point. I'm not sure. But he's developed tools like, if you've ever heard of, I think it's whatisonsteam.com. What's on steam.com. He developed that. And more recently, he's developing a tool called weloveeverygame.com, which I've mentioned here. And it utilizes Gen AI to like curate games that are on Steam, because the thing is, there's more than 10,000 games that get released to Steam every year. So, like, if there's no such thing as curating that anymore, so the only feasible way you could potentially curate that is with AI, right? Like Gen AI. But then going into kind of the categories. So I'm going to go from the bottom up in the screenshot that you have in the post. So number 5 is code and game logic. I'm a software developer by day, and it is pretty much standard at this point to use Copilot or some Gen AI tool in your day-to-day software developer job. That doesn't mean that all developers are using it, but no developer seems surprised by another developer using it at my day job, right? And not at my company, but there are certainly been stories at Microsoft and Facebook and Apple of mandating AI or beginning to mandate AI. So the notion being that if a developer is not using Copilot or something similar, they're not being as effective as they possibly could be or as productive as they possibly could be. So, like, this is just increasingly becoming the standard for software developers. I think that context changes a bit with game development, but I don't know how much. And I'll skip to now just the visual asset generation. So for me, anything that is generating art, whether it's written, audio, or visual, that's going to be used towards the public. So that means that doesn't include like brainstorming. That doesn't include concept art to me. Anything that's going to be shown to the public, that's where I personally draw the line, right? So I wouldn't make visual art that I'm going to display to a player of my game or something like that. But I would use that to maybe build concept art and maybe share that with an artist that I'm like, oh, I want something like this, right? And so that's where I personally draw the line.
What was the game? It's the one that it's been delayed, but I think it'll probably end up. Marathon, was that the one that had all the AI
No,
had stolen somebody's assets?
That's what they said, but it was just stolen assets. Yeah, that it was. Yeah, it was actually another artist that had made stuff, but nothing that I was aware of AI stuff. It was more about just straight plagiarism.
So that was just plagiarism, just not artificial plagiarism.
Yeah. Although Valve did, not Valve, but like Bellular News recently did a video on, I think it was 11-bit that made a game, The Altars, I believe, that uses AI and did not disclose that in Steam. They've since disclosed that now, but they did not disclose that. So that's another kind of like gotcha there.
So I'm just gonna piggyback in on this because there's what's funny is so I am of different minds on this. Ultimately, I from what I've used, I've never liked any final output from any Gen AI type of stuff. I always felt like at the very least it needed heavy modification or at least slight modification. The one area that I have seen actual, because on my previous job it was a visual effects place, so they used like After Effects, they used Blender, they used Maya, they used all of those tools. So I would always see, like, I knew 3D modelers and they would do rigging and animation and all this other stuff. And I have, because I follow those people on Twitter, I also get that type of stuff in there. So there's like rotoscoping, AI using for rotoscoping, and it does like a crazy good job of like outlining without someone needing to, like, actually spend time for each frame. And I find that to be super awesome, because then it's like using like actual just frame data. It's like just rotoscope that, and it's like bloop, there you go, just save someone a whole day of that type of stuff. That type of stuff is awesome. And along those same lines, I've seen like stuff where you can ask it to generate stuff in like Blender and it'll create a 3D model, and now you can like kind of like alter it, but then you could also like rig it. And then the next step I saw is where people are just like moving around, and it will take that animation and do all of the animation for you in the 3D thing as well. So it's kind of like a machinima in a way, but like really lowering the skill level of like actually doing that type of stuff. But it's assisted AI more than anything else, and that's the type of stuff that I think is going to be hard to detect.
That's like a tool-assisted speed run, right?
Yeah. It's like, like a definitely speed running development, but it's like, it is tool assisted. There's one game, it's Cryptarch is the name of the thing. If you guys can look it up, the name of the game is called Capsized on Steam, and it's old. It came out in 2011. And these guys, Cryptarch, always do really good art. And in screenshots, it looks fantastic. But when you're actually moving it around, you can feel like there is that component of a game where they don't take it to the next step, where they kind of blend everything together. And it's like the little details that Nintendo does for like Super Mario Wonder, right? Like the interactions of things. And it's like Linux on desktop, moving windows around feels like you're moving disparate things around, just disparate objects that don't really feel a part of the whole. And I feel like that is something that AI is going to miss often, and why I'm not really the biggest fan of it, because like even if you fine tuned it to where still images could look fantastic, when actually playing and in motion, I feel like a lot of things are going to start breaking down pretty fast. And I don't know, I feel like you still need someone that is a game developer at heart, and someone that's not hoping to just crap out a thing in a week and just like slop it on Steam. Like, I feel like the worst, I'm not opposed to it. I feel like the 3D side is going to be much better, but the 2D side, what I've seen, is just going to need a lot more work. So I don't know. It's inevitable.
I think evaluating 3D side is interesting too. So I don't know how much has changed in, say, the last year, right? But certainly I remember people generating models using Gen AI.
Right.
And their complaint was, like, these are true 3D artists. Their complaint at the time was, it looks good, it's just way too many polys, right? Like, we would never use this in a real game. And that makes sense. They would never use it in a real game, just like you were in our group chat alluding to, you wouldn't check this code in, right?
Right.
But someone that has never made a game before,
Oh yeah.
for better, right? For better, or for worse, now they have a 3D model. Maybe they could reasonably get to a game that they release. There have been like really bad AI games, so I'm not saying that, but maybe there is a time where just it performs poorly, right? Like it doesn't play well in terms of FPS, but like maybe it's a creatively what's the word I'm looking for? Creatively meaningful game, right? Like maybe there is value in this game existing, even though it performs poorly, right?
Yeah.
One more thing. One more thing on that note is Gabe Newell actually chimed in on this recently. So
I saw this.
Yeah, so he's been interviewed by a YouTuber. I don't have the name of the YouTuber handy. I'll find it in a minute. But first, the quote. He says, I think the more you understand what underlies these current tools, the more effective you are at taking advantage of them. But I think we'll be in this funny situation where people who don't know how to program, who use AI to scaffold their programming abilities, will become more effective developers of value than people who have been programming for, a decade. So he thinks, it's not that it's either or, but it's possible for someone that doesn't know programming to use these tools to be more effective than someone potentially that's been programming for over 10 years, at least at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I was going to add, there's going to be a good AI game at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's just going to happen, right? Someone's going to make a good one. And I think that can be celebrated. It's not a bad thing, but it's just a matter of whether or not it's going to actually resonate with us. Think about I don't know much about game development, but I'm thinking about it from like a music standpoint. Like, there are tools in like GarageBand to make drums and to make a guitar sound, right? Or you just press on your keyboard and you come up with a song. And, maybe one of those will be good someday, but usually they're not, right? And that's kind of what I'm thinking in the same lines is like there's something special about that human interaction and what we create out of that. But there could be some sort of AI tool that makes more sense. The way I'm thinking about it, if I was a game developer and I was like, all right, I'm going to use AI tools, I would use it for something like sound effects. Like instead of like, you think about, you've probably seen those like documentaries of people like in movie studios and stuff where they're sitting there and they're like slapping on pieces of leather to make a certain sound that they're going to use in the movie, right?
Foley work.
What if, right. And you could just like do that with an AI tool. I think that would be kind of a neat thing for smaller studios who can't afford to, hire somebody to slap some leather around. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking as well, is like, it is a nice starting spot for somebody, and somebody's going to make a good game at some point with that. I'm just worried about big studios firing people because they can use AI to do that job instead. Right.
Yeah. There's two parts to this. No, well, three parts now, because you just brought up the third part. So part one, studios firing developers because they can just have a computer do it. That sucks. That's terrible and shouldn't happen. Part two, there are already games out there that are making money that used AI. If you guys look at that article, they said the biggest generative AI games of last year, they have My Summer Car, which got 2.5 million units sold. Whoa. It says there are some generated paintings found inside the main house. Liar's Bar, 1.3 million units sold. The character voices used in the game were generated by AI. The Quinfall, 175,000 units sold. In-game interface images were created through known image AIs. And then Inzoi, I think I said that wrong, 500,000 units sold. Players can generate unique textures for character outfits and various items based on text input. They can also create 3D objects from image input, which can be used as interior decorations to add distinct motions to their Zoe using video input. So there's already games that are successful. I'm sure that if the four of us put out a game and 175,000 people bought it, we'd be doing dances. Like, we'd be pretty happy about that. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing that I think that we're not talking about is what is used to train these AIs. That's the thing that bugs me more than anything else, is like, it's being like constantly we see what's OpenAI, is that the company that does ChatGPT? Mm-hmm. I constantly see them saying things like, we need to be able to steal other people's work, otherwise it's not profitable. Like, that's essentially what they say. I'm sorry, I cut off Carrie a minute ago. What were you saying, buddy?
No, yeah, it's more of the same. And when we talk about the studio closures, so the layoffs that have already been happening, where they're leaning into AI or investing more into AI, you can feel that's palpable. For what it's worth, like my company just had like a small layoff round, and Virtuos had a small layoff round. So I'm seeing multiple companies everywhere just having layoff rounds right about now. And for sure, it's I would imagine that they are trying to leverage into AI stuff. For me, Coach and AI is still like stupid. Like it's in for very critical systems. I still have the belief that it's very very delicate, and someone shouldn't just send it. Um, I played around with it a long time ago, and I would have it do stuff, and then it would just erase 100 lines of like function, and it was like, what in the world are you doing? And I was like, this is awful. So I would not use it. Well, I mean, I haven't used it in a bit, so I'll have to reevaluate my thoughts on it. But the when it comes down to like the top selling stuff that you saw there with what they have used, I'm okay with it because it seems like a lot of the stuff is still handcrafted. One part that I think I would easily find myself being guilty of. Did you guys ever play like Baldur's Gate 2? The original, like from
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
right.
yeah.
So you know the portraits, like
Oh yeah. The beautiful art.
yeah, I would love it if I could take a picture of myself and like replicate the style of both and like have my portrait in there. I would love that. And I would, that's like a generative AI thing that was like right in the field of what is like it's perfect for.
Yeah.
I was going to say that there is like, there were used to be, I think it was Madden and NBA games and stuff on Xbox 360 at least, maybe PS2, no, Xbox 360, where you could like somehow get a picture to them. Like you'd send an email to an address of a picture of your face, and then they would make you a player.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
not that far off from like Gen AI at that point.
Right. Yeah. That's where things get like kind of really cool, where you see people would honestly love having that inclusion where they could put themselves, especially in like an RPG, where they could put themselves into it. I feel like that's super awesome. But yeah, when you get down to it, sorry about that. What I find like a part of me that wants to like slow down on it is like wholesale full lock stock and barrel soup to nuts everything Gen AI. Like
Yeah.
like the guy was
Yeah.
just like because we're getting closer and closer because I see some examples now. I saw yesterday someone had Claude just take control of their computer and just like do this stuff, and it was like moving their mouse around and doing a bunch of stuff. It was doing it on their Mac, and it was like, okay, I'm done for the night, I'm gonna go to sleep. And it was like, what the hell? Like, what is going on? Where are you just gonna have this team of like AI bots that are just having control of computers, and just you give them an assignment and they get busy until that assignment is complete? And how much contextually can they understand without actually losing sight of what they're working on? I don't know.
So that is such an interesting topic, right? Because it's also like, what if it was that good, right? Are we okay with it then? And I don't know the answer to it, right? So like, what if it was literally good enough to do everything you said?
Yeah.
Then do we become okay with it?
No. So I'm going to tell you right now, it's the same reason why people don't buy Made in America that costs more expensive, and people only buy the things that cost the least. No one
Yeah.
cares. No one cares.
Yeah.
Zero people care. They just are like, oh, I can buy this game and it's awesome and it's fun. Every detractor that will come and say that's this, that's that, that's X, no one is going to care. And unless there's some regulatory body that comes in that says, hey, when your AI is doing something, it has to mentally tally who it's borrowing from.
Yeah.
And
Please.
there needs to be residuals that,
Agreed.
unless there's regulations that happen and do this.
Which I would love. I would love if there was regulation
Everyone
around
would.
that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I would love. Another thing we haven't touched on is like the power that is involved in using this, right? Like
Oh,
power
right.
usage, water usage, right? So like there are a lot of concerns, but yeah, as you're kind of alluding to, Carrie, there's also the free market, and like then even if there is a regulatory body, is there a regulatory body only in the U.S. or only in the EU, and does that then give advantages and disadvantages to other nations?
Yeah, so I mean, I find this to be in the same area that we're almost in the same line of talking about asset flips. No one likes asset flips, and that didn't have any generative AI at all. It was
Yeah.
just people just flipping content, putting a new coat of paint on it, pushing it out, and then trying to resell it. So there was already this idea of slop existing, where there was like a minimal amount of work where you can claim ownership of something, even though you didn't do much at all. I'm getting blown up here.
I'm thinking about
Donkey Kong's getting delivered.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about like the idea of like how many carriage buggy drivers were fired when cars came out, right?
Yeah.
How many old monks were out of a job when the printing press came out? They could no longer like reprint the Bible,
Right.
take 10 years or whatever. So maybe some of this is growing pains and, in further generations, like it's just going to kind of atrophy out, but I don't know. Like it's a really interesting and complex thing. But I would play an AI game if it's a fun game to play. I think I would probably still enjoy that experience. I don't know about watching an AI movie that pretends to be a human. Like I don't know about that. You know what I mean? But I don't know. We'll see. I was watching a trailer for. It was a Stargate reboot, and it took me 30 seconds to realize it was AI generated. But it took me 30 seconds. I'm watching. I'm like, oh shit! And there's a new Stargate.
and that
I was like
means
excited.
something.
Yeah, and I was like, look, it's got Dave Bautista in it, and no, he's not in it.
And then what if it's 30 seconds now, but then it's a minute in 6 months, and it's 2 minutes in 12 months. So and it seems like it's going to be that fast. Not necessarily that specific scenario, but like we're progressing pretty fast. I do have. Can I do one more of AI story here?
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. So this relates to what Carrie was talking about with regard to like code gen and like critical systems. So like a lot of banking and finance companies, they have the problem of they have a lot of like legacy code. So if you hear like Fortran and languages like that, these are languages that they don't have developers for. And we're not making new developers for those languages. They're just, in the 70s. So there was a story about Morgan Stanley building an AI tool to basically port that legacy code. So it says Morgan Stanley's deployed an in-house AI tool called DevGen.ai that has viewed 9 million lines of legacy code, saving the investment bank's developers an estimated 280,000 hours. And I bring this one up because it's a little bit more nuanced than what we've been talking about, where like we do have people to do those jobs and then we lay them off, right? And we lay them off and instead use AI. And this is more potentially of an instance where you don't have that developer pool, but here's a solution to that problem. And it's a little bit more nuanced than kind of what we've been talking about, I think.
Yeah.
I think that this makes it the reason why this is an interesting conversation is because it is not black or white.
Correct.
There are things that AI can be, and there are things that LLMs can be used for that are useful, that do a lot of cool things. I mean, what was it called? Midjourney?
Yep.
Is that when Midjourney first came out, I joined that Discord and I typed in a thing and I was like, holy cow, look at that thing. I just typed in a thing and it spit that out. That's actually pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really see any use for it. As time goes on, it does get more useful, which comes back to what Russ was saying, that someday there's going to be a game or a movie or whatever that is made completely by AI and we won't be able to tell. And Carrie's right. Most people will be fine with it. But my gripe with it mostly is most of it is just stolen assets because the LLMs or the AI was trained on other people's work without giving them credit,
right?
Which is not right. And then my other problem with it that gamers should give a shit about is all of this stuff drives up the cost of electricity. It drives up I just saw a story the other day that like there's all of these it's here in New York. There's like some company is using a bunch of electricity, and the solution that the electricity company said was, well, we'll just raise the prices on the other customers.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, And graphics cards keep going up in price. All of this stuff is affecting it, but nobody thinks about it because they think, oh, look, cheap game.
Right.
And that's a problem.
So there is one part that's like, I don't think, like whatever logical fallacies and slippery slopes or whatever, is that the one issue is like, let's say that there is some regulatory body that comes along and says, hey, you have to start paying residuals for all these things. And then they start doing the numbers and all the other stuff. And none of that works. And then you have a situation where legally to use an LLM that has all these things, you have to use your own assets to drive it. In which case, it's not going to be totally useful if it doesn't have a big sample pool. In which case,
I would be okay with that, though.
Yeah, but then you're going to have only super conglomerates that can afford to create all of that stuff. And now you have a consolidated power for people that can afford it, and no one else can use the stuff. So then it's just like, oh, we just screwed ourselves. It's, I don't know. I don't know
Which
if that's
supposedly, I think, was one of the initial motivations for OpenAI, right? Was that they were worried that AI would be concentrated in the power of the few. Right. And so they, went with these open models. I don't know. Yeah.
There's definitely a balance there, though. Like, so think about, okay, there's the whole, only a megacorp can do it. But then if it's a free market and anyone can use whatever, instead of 10,000 new games being added to Steam every year, we're going to see 20, 30, 40,000 instead. And it's going to be slop and crap. Like you go to any iPhone app store, any of those things, right? You just kind of go through. It's crap. It's mostly crap. And the cream will rise to the top, but it's still a much harder fight to get exposure at that point. And that's a bad thing, I think.
I feel like the next step that we all collectively need to do is create a Gen AI that can model your own personality and subject themselves to all of the slop and find the cream for you.
It feels like that'll happen, yeah. Yeah, it feels like that'll happen. Like, think about like as a employer and an employee. Like, employers have had AI and Gen AI tools for longer, right? So in terms of like hiring, they've been able to filter your resume through these tools for longer than we have been. But now, as employees, we are able to use our LLM tools and be like, hey, how can I boost my resume to actually be more accurate and be more aligned to the job description? And so like now,
I'm telling you, man, fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
I didn't have on my bingo card today that Kerry would want to multiplicity himself.
I want to create like an AI personality of me to just slop them through. I feel real bad. Like if it was actually like a living sentient thing, it's like, oh god, more slop. I have to go through all this slop.
I like Pizza Steve.
Yeah, that's a good movie. Michael Keaton.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Well, you mentioned layoffs a minute ago. We might as well talk real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Virtuos laid off some people, and this comes from WCCF Tech, one of the worst named websites on the planet.
And yet they have such good content. I don't understand.
They do. I know. Just please change your name to something better. It's or tell everybody what it stands for.
Yeah.
But it says Virtuos is evolving to meet the changing needs of our partners and the industry. As game development grows increasingly complex, we are realigning our global footprint and capabilities to strengthen our offer. Blah 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 blah. We're firing people because we're assholes. Yeah. That's what it really seems to say.
Yeah, money.
7% of their workforce was affected, which is over 200 people. 200 in Asia and 70 in Europe. So like almost 300 people were fired after they just shipped what is probably Carrie's favorite game of the year. I
loved it.
Oblivion Remastered was a triumph. It is so damn good. And immediately after it came out, we were like, let's get them to make a new Fallout. Yeah. I think we just talked about that last week, that they were going to, that we wanted them to remake a Fallout game. Well, now they're firing people instead, and that just sucks. Anything?
Yeah, I don't like the number. I don't like the numbers either. So it says 200 roles in Asia, 70 roles in Europe, fewer than 10 in France, where the core team working on Oblivion Remastered was located. So What this means is that they probably hired out a bunch of people to work on the game assets and stuff like that. And there's those 200 in Asia is my guess, just based on the numbers, right? So the core team is these people who are, managers and people getting paid more or whatever, right? And maybe the people making like the original art assets or whatever, but still, it's the people doing the hard work. Like I don't want to say the hard work, but like the mundane kind of like asset stuff, right? They're the ones that are getting fired at that point. And I don't like that idea, because that also seems to me the most vulnerable of all the populations. Those are the ones where AI could potentially help in those roles. And that's where I'm worried about it.
Though I think that one thing that I think that they should do, because I think you're right about that, Russ. I think what they're doing is they're hiring people and then they finish the job. So then they fire them. So then these people go and they look for some other job. They get hired. They finish the job. They get fired. And it's this ridiculous cycle where what I wish would happen instead is just get a bunch of devs together and form a company that your only job is to help out other companies with stuff like this. And don't hire those people. You just hire that company. Hey, you're going to work on this game with us, and when it's done, you guys can go and work on another game with somebody else. And it can be like the management's job is to line up all of these jobs that they're going to do so that these people have a consistent place to work instead of getting fired every 6 months and then looking for a job for 3 or 4 months, and then they start the whole process over again.
Yeah, that's why we saw the alignment of all these, even Microsoft going to Unreal Engine. They got rid of the Halo engine. Halo's going over to Unreal, which is just blasphemy. All of it is just so that they can hire freelance contractors when they want and get rid of them when they want. And that's why it's just this homogeneous. You guys know what word I'm trying to use here.
We do.
Homogeneous.
Yeah, they're just squeezing it all into one place. And, it's crazy because then you have like the games like Indiana Jones, which is on id Tech, Doom, which is on id Tech, and everyone's like, oh, that's amazing. It plays great. And then you go over Oblivion isn't the best performing game and it's all over the place. I still loved it, but Unreal Engine has been almost the bane of this generation of next generation of games. Is like, if it's on PC, you're almost certain to have stutter issues. You're going to have weirdo spikes in performance. So it's just a weird time.
And random, but just to be clear, I don't think that these are like freelance contractors, right? Like this is Virtuos workforce. It was in Asia, right? Like a majority of the roles, but I don't think these were contractors or freelance, at least not the way it's phrased in the article. So this is like people that they have as FTEs, as full-time employees, I think. And so, yeah, and this happens after every project that as you guys have been alluding to, where like, they ramp up workforce in the middle of a project, and then as soon as the project's done, they just let a lot of those people go, as opposed to having something more stable or consistent. They just, they do this sort of like rush hiring and then rush firing, and it sucks.
Yeah, and it's like they're treating the full-time employees like they're contractors.
Yes,
100%. That's what bothers me the most about it. If they were just contractors that know that they're doing this job and then they're done with that company after that, then I wouldn't care. I'd be like, okay, well, that's what they're doing. All right, let's move on and talk about some price leaks for the Ally and Ally X. Boys, I think we nailed it. We were right on the money when it came to these prices. Now these are leaked and not confirmed, and it's all based on leaks in euros, and then we're converting things over, which doesn't always work out exactly as a like-for-like scenario or apples to apples, as people like when we say. So I guess that I'm trying to find it here. Here we go. Translated, this is from PC Gamer. Translated directly into freedom dollars. That's hilarious. That would make what's that?
Hoorah.
Hoorah, yeah. Freedom dollars, you freaking weirdo. It's kind of funny. This is Andy Ed Sir, by the way. Translated directly into freedom dollars, that would make the ROG Xbox Ally roughly $700, and the X variant, that's the black one, an eye-watering $1,050. Though it's not likely to be a one-to-one exchange, which I kind of already covered on that. What do you guys think about these prices? Russ, do you think that they are what you expected? Do you feel like the a slight bump in performance justifies a slight bump? I'm comparing it to the ROG Ally X in that case, a slight bump in price as well. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we haven't seen the Z2 Extreme in play yet. Like, we haven't actually got to see it, other than like to demo Gears of War for a second last month or month before. But I was expecting $999 for that one. What I'm kind of disappointed in is if it's going to be $700 for the Z2 Alpha one, because the Z2 Alpha, Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, is kind of just a Steam Deck processor, right? Like, it's the Van Gogh one.
Yep.
And so you're paying $700 for a Steam Deck that has a 120 hertz screen and those nice grippy grips on it.
Would you rather get a Steam Deck in that case, Russ? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because you get OLED Steam Deck and we're running at 90 hertz and it'll be 800p, which is a better fit for the Z2 Alpha chip, as opposed to trying to push 1080p and getting disappointed all the time.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it doesn't make a whole bunch. The lower end, depending on how we look at this, right? Because some people are saying that the euros, like the 900 for the Z2E version, 900 euros is going to be 900 USD, and some people are saying it's 1,000 USD. Regardless of whichever way you look at that, those are both aggressive prices for the Z2E, based on HX 370 just being expensive as all get out for the handhelds. And it's basically the same thing minus a few cores, so it could be binned. Regardless of anything, if it's $900, that is insanely aggressive on pricing on the Z2E, but it's also, when you compare pricing between the $600 model or whatever that's going to be to the $900 model, it becomes like a no-brainer to just be like, just get a Steam Deck for the low one because you can save money and have a better experience, or just get the more expensive version, which will be better than the Steam Deck and actually fit. So it becomes this weird situation where they've made it's like, would you rather have a Dixie cup for $1 or a Super Gulp for $1.10? And it's just like, I think I'll go for the Super Gulp. It's very weird pricing.
I think that we've run into this before. There was, which handheld came out? There were two versions of it. And
I mean, the ROG Ally, the first one.
The original Ally, that's right, the white one. It had the
Z1E and Z1.
That's right, the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme version. And like all of us were like, do not buy the Z1 version because it's like, it was only $50 cheaper, right?
It was like $100, but still, that's a ridiculous difference. Yeah. And the amount of gaming that you could do was just crazy between the two. And I think everyone was just like, unless there's a fire sale, just get the Z1 Extreme one.
Yeah. And that's basically where, we've had that same kind of like the Z2 Go is like, why bother? And now we're going to have this Z2A, which is going to be like, well, why bother? And especially when you frame it in comparison when they're coming out at the same time, I understand that they're, for part of this show, part of the launch for this really is, the bigger part of it is how good this Xbox experience is and how good of it, like how far does it go into satisfying what we're looking at of this thing rather than the hardware side of it. Because the hardware side of this whole equation is kind of not exciting. Insofar as like, oh, it's going to be so much better. It's just not really that much better when you consider it. Like, you're not going to be 2 times better than a Steam Deck at the same wattage. You're going to have to push a bunch more power to be 50% more power performance. So it's just like, okay, like that's kind of okay, but you're not in the realm of where we want to be right now.
Rich, do you think that these prices, the $700 one, it's just, to me, it doesn't seem like that's a very good deal. I would much rather go with the more expensive one. Do you think that they're doing that because then they can say starts at $700, or do you think that they're doing it because, as Carrie said, they're binning these chips and they can get rid of stuff that way? What do you think?
I find that I think their motivation is a lot more organic than either of those. I think they see the success of the Steam Deck and they're trying to find something that fits the Steam Deck profile, where like, oh, it's going to be better at lower wattages, but it's not going to have the same top end. And I think that the reason that the pricing is sort of like discordant with that notion is just because they have a lot of costs to take into account, right? So I think that this is not cheap for Asus to manufacture, and I don't think Microsoft is helping in any meaningful way, right? And so like it's not cheap for Valve either, but I think Valve has worked on making it as cheap as possible, whereas I think Asus is going for not necessarily as cheap as possible, but more so the best experience that we have so far for either of these two profiles, the really like low end Steam Deck profile and the really quote unquote high end ZE profile, and they're just coming up against tough pricing, especially right now at post tariffs. I know we're looking at pre-tariff prices, but I think we're only going to see it get, let's say, worse than the €599, €899. Yeah,
I think
it's going to
go ahead, Russ.
I was just going to say, I think the ROG Ally or the Xbox ROG Ally, so the cheaper one, is still going to be a good handheld. Like I think it's going to have good controls, it's going to feel good, nice screen. You can use it for like, GeForce Now streaming and stuff. If the game itself can't play very well, it's going to be awesome for indie games. I just don't see that €599 point like being worth it in this environment. That's the problem there. It's like a good handheld at the wrong price.
Yeah,
right. Because you could get the most expensive Steam Deck for $50 less, essentially.
Yeah, especially if you do.
If we're converting it to Freedom dollars,
like if we're converting it over to roughly $700.
Yeah.
Well, that's $50 more than the most expensive Steam Deck, which comes with a terabyte of storage. Right. And like Russ said earlier, a lower resolution screen, which sounds bad, but is actually better when you're talking about a handheld, because then you don't have to push as much. It's got a 50 watt-hour battery. It's got an OLED screen. It just seems odd to me. It seems like a very odd choice to try and compete with the Steam Deck, but not meet it at the same price. And maybe they can't, but Valve found a way.
So the interesting thing is that the lower end one that we're all going to say not to get ostensibly will have higher margins for Asus because it's a 7-nanometer chip still, which 7-nanometer is not as expensive to produce as the Z2E will be. And the Z2E is going to have razor thin margins that we're telling everyone to buy. So it's a really weird, maybe that's like the whole thing is like, okay, we're not going to produce a lot of these because we're going to know a lot of people aren't going to buy them, but it has the Xbox name on it. So we're going to have a few of them, but we'll make our money be based on how, maybe there's like some whiz-biz logic that goes in there where this becomes a viable product. I'm just not sure. And, for what it's worth, even at $900, which is like super amazing prices for the Z2E, that is like a crazy great price for the Z2E. $900 is still the stratosphere, past the stratosphere for anyone. Like you said, like every Twitter thing about it, $900. Oh my God, that's insane. That's so like outrageous. And I'm like, that's actually a fantastic price. You can't even like touch that. They're practically giving it away at that price, but no one feels that. They see $900 on a handheld and they're just not having it. So I don't know. It's
They're
I've seen the headlines
to the Switch 2. At $450.
Well, I've seen headlines too, where it's like, this is twice or three times the price of an Xbox Series S. So they're using it in that kind of console metrics. And, it got me thinking too, is like, why didn't they call that white one the ROG Xbox Ally S? You know what I mean? I'm assuming it's because of the Legion Go S. They didn't want to have two S, like kind of handhelds in the market. You know what I mean? But that would have made a lot more sense. Make the S and the X model. That would have fallen in line with the Xbox model. 100%.
No, they left off. They left off the last S for savings.
There's the intro. I was waiting for it. All right, let's move on from that.
Do you guys remember that jingle?
Yes, I do.
Leave off the last S for savings. Bling.
That's the intro.
The jingles that we had in the 80s and the 90s. They just don't have jingles for TV commercials anymore. When I teach the word arid to my students, I always sing the Arid Extra Dry commercial to them, or I show them the commercial first because I want them to know that the arid context means dry.
Right.
That's awesome.
All right, let's move on. And Rich, why don't you pick a story that we haven't hit yet, and we'll talk about it.
I guess we'll go with GTA 6 cost. We've talked about it a few times, but yeah. There's some more context now now that now that Mario Kart World has been released. But in any case, this is a market analyst. Is that right?
Yeah.
That
Basically
Jake
they're well, no, I think Jake Bishop wrote the article, and then he's paraphrasing what some venture capital firm was talking about, and they're predicting that it's going to be $80.
Yeah, and they're also predicting that it's going to ship 85 million copies at $80 per copy, which, I mean, sure. I haven't. These numbers are so big at this point. Like, I don't know. Sure, I guess so. But either way, I personally really believe the $80 per copy. I think we're on the threshold. We saw Mario Kart World, and Mario Kart World, I think it's fair to say, like, did not warrant the 80. Like, if there was going to be a game that warranted another $10 hike in price, it wasn't Mario Kart World, in my opinion. And so, like, if it wasn't Mario Kart World,
I paid $50 for it.
There you go. So, yeah. like if Mario Kart World could get away with it, then maybe GTA 6 can too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I'm thinking it's going to be higher than 80. That's what I was thinking. Dude, do you think it'll be higher than that, Carrie?
It's going to be $130 for like the not deluxe edition, but kind of deluxe with shark cards that I don't know what shark cards do. But cards. You know, I don't know. It's like, you know, what's going to happen. They're going to come and they're going to upsell you somewhere with the Primo edition. And it's just going to be out of control. Hey, everyone's going to buy it. It doesn't matter. 80 million 85 million. That's like one for every PlayStation out there. So maybe they're going to be like 70% PlayStation and 30% Xbox, maybe, or something. Because
that number, the sold number, seems more ridiculous to me than the $80. Is the 85 million sold? Because, like, yeah, across just consoles.
That's it. It's launching on consoles only.
Correct.
It's not on PC at first.
Yes.
Correct. So 85 seems like a stretch, but yeah. Go ahead, Russ.
Can I just make an observation that it's just ridiculous that this game is so true to life and it's so popular. Like, when I play a game, I want to play a game where I'm like shooting a laser gun at alien beings, or like, you know, I'm wearing like pointy ears, I'm Link, and I'm running around and doing all these cool magical things that you can't do in real life. And then GTA 6, which is going to be you getting in a car and driving around, is somehow so popular. It's like, I can just do that right now. I can get in a car and drive around. I can't obviously like shoot people and stuff, but it's like, it's just so strange to me that this game and Red Dead Redemption is like that for me as well. It's like, these are just like life games and people love it. I'm going to sit in front of my TV and pretend like I'm outside, you know, like it's just a weird thing for me. Whereas I'd like to shoot lasers.
I mean, I feel like Grand Theft Auto 3 came around at the perfect time of like the 90s edge or the 90s grunge era where we wanted grittier stuff. And, you know, games were always still kind of like, you know, in a family friendly thing. And that alignment of Mortal Kombat and Grand Theft Auto 3 came at such a time. And it was really just being a super delinquent in Grand Theft Auto 3 that was attractive. Like, you couldn't like be with a lady of the night and then beat her up and get your money back. And then, you know what I mean? It's like, you couldn't do those things. And there was this, you know, it's funny watching like my nephews and stuff, like, you know, seeing them play Grand Theft Auto, and they're just following the rules. They'll like stop at a red light and like be actual citizens. And it's like, I think you're playing this game wrong.
Well, that's
like,
the thing.
Stop having fun.
There's no wrong way to play this game, right? And
right.
I think that's part of why it's so popular too, to that point. Because and forget about like the online stuff, which has just been insane, right? Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say in terms of the like sandbox nature. But one thing I also wanted to point out here is, okay, going back to GTA 5. GTA 5 sold like 200 million copies.
A few.
Right, a few. So I do wonder, like, the 85 million units, like, what is that? What is that time frame? Are we talking about a couple years? Is this once it's been ported? Stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know.
Let me ask you guys a question real quick. I want to just don't look it up. How many views do you think are on the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer, the first trailer that came out 1 year ago? Rich.
I got nothing.
I want you to guess, man. All right. Carrie, guess.
10 million.
10 million. Okay. Russ, guess.
100 million.
Okay. Rich, are they above or below the actual number?
One view. No, we're not doing prices right, right?
This is not Price is Right. Are they? This is over under.
Under 100 million, over 10. Let's go with like 88. I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
All right. So Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer 1 had 263 million views on YouTube in 1 year. Trailer 2, which only came out 2 months ago, 124 million views.
Jeez.
And
This
the
game
reason
is
why I
going to
even said
sell
100
all the games.
Yeah, the reason why I said 100 million is because there's so many people who repost trailers, and so it like cuts away from the view count of the original one, and so that's what I was thinking was like that there's some sort of undercutting happening.
I should have did that. I should have just made like another few. I should have made like 20 YouTube channels that just reposted that thing.
Just post that, yeah.
You could have made so much money just doing something like that.
Not Rockstar. Rockstar goes after you if you post any of their stuff.
That's
Every
true.
time
Good
that
point.
I've like tried to use Red Dead Redemption as like B-roll in one of my videos, YouTube detects it and is like, you can't do this. And I'm like, shoot. And then I got to delete it and change the B-roll and re-upload it. And it's always annoying. But yeah, Rockstar doesn't let you do that stuff. But all right. So, Carrie, what's the minimum price that you think that they will sell this game for?
That's a good question.
GTA 6, $80.
You think that's the minimum?
I think $80 is what they're going to sell it for. Yeah.
I think $90 is what they're going to sell it for.
they're gonna-
I think they're going to bump it up even more
I don't think so.
because they know they can.
I mean, they could.
Russ, who's right, Carrie or me?
Carrie's right. I think $80. This is
Okay.
a general population game. Like I feel like general population is not ready for 90.
Rich?
I'm going 80. There's still
Okay.
only the $180 game. So this will be maybe the second. I don't know. I'm going 80.
I think there's other $80 games. Like Microsoft, it hasn't happened yet. Microsoft said that they were going to raise their games to $80 like this holiday season or something.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on from Grand Theft Auto 6 and let's real quick, I want to talk about movies. Because we got a bunch, not just movies, but movies and TV shows that are all video game adaptations. We now have the casting for Zelda and Link. I combined Link and Zelda's names. It's Benjamin Evan Ainsworth is Link, and Bo Bragson is Zelda. And I think that, man, did they get the right look for these kids.
Really happy with what they
And
did.
both of them have stage acting performance. So like they're not brand new, but I'm really happy that Nintendo didn't go with known
Chris Pratt.
like celebrities. Yeah, Chris Pratt. Listen,
Mark Wahlberg.
yeah.
I have no problem with Chris Pratt's Mario. It was fine. It was fine. Everybody who hates Chris Pratt it's okay to hate Chris Pratt. I don't care. His Mario was fine. It wasn't wonderful. It wasn't terrible. It was fine. But I'm glad that they didn't put him in this movie.
Yeah.
Russ, what do you think about, are you looking forward to the Zelda movie? What do you think about it being a live action movie? Would you prefer it to be an animated movie?
I don't mind it being live action. I think I actually prefer that. My worry is that it's just going to fall in that video game trope, kind of like origin story movie where that takes up 2/3 of the movie, you know, like you guys all saw Superman, right? No spoilers here, but like you know, they just drop you into that movie. They're like, you know what, you've seen some comic book movies before, you know who this guy is, right? So let's just start, you know, like I love that. And I don't know if they can pull that off with Zelda, but I'm just worried like how much of that is going to be origin story stuff, which may or may not be interesting in a Zelda game. I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I just want to see, like, are they going to have puzzles in it? Like, you know, it'll be interesting.
You got to have the sound.
Yeah.
right?
The Zelda fan.
God! Is that what you mean? God!
That wasn't the sound I was thinking of, but that's good.
I feel bad for the kid. He's like, it just goes on for pages like this. Hut, hut, hut.
Meanwhile, what's her name again? Bo?
Yeah.
Bo Bragson.
Bo Bragson
Bragson.
has all these lines to memorize, and then the guy, the Ainsworth guy, is just like, ah!
I'm like, so it is a special power for writers. Like, so when I saw Avengers in theaters, when you know Captain America is going around it. Goodness gracious!
That was me, sorry.
when Captain America's going around and giving orders to everyone, and he goes, and Hulk, smash. That line as a delivery, like you could say, man, I wish someone could say Hulk smash, because that is such a like a cringy comic book thing to do. And it's so easy to get wrong, but they managed to just not do that wrong. If they could somehow, in some way, get some writer to line up, well, excuse me, princess, thumbs up all around. I will just like that's all I just want someone just to nail, even if it doesn't like land it. But yeah, the Zelda fanfare, I feel like the Zelda fanfare is also a little too on the nose, but it's something that you can have in the background, like as like a doo-doo-doo-doo, you know what I mean? Like it is for sure. There's ways to put that in there where you pay fan service, and so like, you know, the things that we recognize. But I'm super looking forward to this. I think that the casting is pretty much fantastic. I love that there are people I don't know. I think they just look the part, and I can totally see it. I'm very much looking forward to this.
Rich, any thoughts?
I'm looking forward to it too. I think you guys nailed it. They nailed the look here. I'm happy. I'm happy with live action as well. I didn't need animated. We've had our share of animated Zeldas, so I'm looking forward to this.
I'm personally glad. I'm excited that it's live action. I didn't want it to be animated. I just hope that I just hope it doesn't come off like a YA novel. You know what I mean? Where you go and you're like, oh, this is like, I went to see the Mario movie with my family, and I was like, okay, it's fine that it's for kids. That makes sense. I would like the Zelda movie to not be for kids. Yeah. I would like it to be for everyone. Well, actually, I would like it to be more catered towards old people like us. But they can't really do that because they want to bring that next generation up with them. Then here's my next thing. Zelda reinvents itself almost every time. If they ever make a second one, do they recast and tell a completely different story again? Or do they keep going? Which would you prefer to see, Rich?
I'd rather they keep going, but
same.
Practically speaking, maybe they just have to do that because these kids get older and things like that, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to see a whole bunch of like different links, and I mean, that's not what I'm looking for.
For what it's worth, you have the first movie and he's Kid Link, and then the next movie he's Adult Link.
There you go. I like it. Yes.
What they should do is film a bunch of stuff while they're still kids, so they can do Temple of Time type of stuff in the second one and kind of bring those together. Like, so hopefully they have the foresight to manage that.
That would be awesome.
I would hope so. Moving on to Assassin's Creed. 5 years ago, Netflix said, "Hey, we're going to make Assassin's Creed stuff." Well, now they are doing a live action series. It is going to be showrun by Roberto Patino and David Weiner. I don't know how to say his last name. And it's going to be based on the game. I mean, that movie was kind of a horrible disaster. So I'm glad that they're taking another shot at it. Netflix is pretty good at TV. Their movies are mostly kind of crap, but the TV shows are really good, I think, a lot of the time. Are you guys going to be tuning in for Assassin's Creed stuff, Carrie?
It really depends. I probably, if Netflix is doing it, I was actually very surprised by One Piece, the live action. I found myself actually watching it and be like, wow, I can't believe how cartoonish this is, like absolute top tier cartoonish, but I feel like they still nailed it. So I feel like if they get whoever they have in that sphere to kind of work on this, yes, I'm going to say yes. Yeah, I'll at least give it a gander.
What about you, Rich? Are you an Assassin's Creed fan? Are you looking forward to seeing this?
I am an Assassin's Creed fan for like Brotherhood, anything in Italy, right? Like they nailed it. Black Flag was good. So yeah, I'd be here for it. I think that it's like it has such a rich like tapestry to pull from, even if it's just one of the series. But they've got a lot to pull from, I think.
Russ, you bought every Assassin's Creed game.
I did.
You gonna watch the show?
Well, I had to let Carrie know. David Weiner is one of the showrunners of Halo. Just to warn you. So
Oh,
there's
no.
that going on. But the other guy, Robert Bettino, was one of the showrunners for Westworld. So I don't know. There could be good and bad, there. We'll see.
Get
But
into an argument.
yeah, I think that this is a good series or TV show kind of idea because you've got like Desmond or whoever your like main guy going in the Animus, right? That's like your main character. And then you can have other actors playing the stuff when he goes back in time and does other stuff. You know what I mean? And so I think that's one of the failures of the movie is that they just kept what's his name the whole time, and it didn't really feel, I don't know, as interesting to me. And so, yeah, I could see this being like one season is one game, another season is another game, different storylines, but still overarching the same kind of idea. That would work as a TV show. So I'll watch it. I mean, I watch things that are a lot worse than this sometimes, so it's all good.
David Ryan is probably going to reverse it. He's probably going to have the people in the past go into the future and talk about the things that he did, just because so he can make it his own. He'd be like, "That no, that's my work, not that."
You just had to bring it up, didn't you, Russ?
Maybe Robert Patino can keep him in check.
He also need someone.
Also did Sons of Anarchy. I like Sons of Anarchy, so
I've heard very good things about that show, but I've never seen it. Yeah. All right, we're going to start wrapping up soon, but there's a couple things that I want to hit first. Did you guys watch the Mortal Kombat 2 trailer?
Yes.
No.
Yep. Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to watch it so that we can talk about it next episode, because I was not interested in this movie at all. And now I am very interested in it. And they put out 2 trailers. One of them is this trailer that I linked to you. The other trailer is a series of trailers all about Johnny Cage's movie history with Carl Urban. And it looks ridiculously good. So we'll talk about that maybe on the next episode. Let's talk about the games that we've been playing. I've played a roguelike Diablo game. Carrie, when you fire this up, the music in this game is going to get you to spend your money. So careful when you load up the demo if you do. It's called Hell Clock, and it takes place in Brazil. And it's a ARPG where you have, you're fighting against hordes of zombies and stuff. There's a clock where I don't even know what happens when you run out of time, because I've only played the demo. They did send me a review copy, but this was like, I've only played the demo, and the demo goes up to level 17, and I haven't gotten to level 17 yet. So I'm essentially still in the demo. It's really cool, and I think you're going to like it a lot. The other game that I've been playing is Donkey Kong Bonanza. I only have about 3 hours in it. I've collected, I don't know, 30 bananas or something like that at this point. That game is really good and landed at around 90 on Metacritic. Carrie, you've been playing what?
The game I've been playing lately is Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok. I've been really enjoying it. The inclusion of the blades was something sorely missed, and going through it, it's just a refinement of the original one. I'm really liking it, but now I'm in like this exposition part with the boy, and I'm just like, I want to get through with it because I don't care one bit, and I'm just trying to rush through it. But it's still a very solid God of War game, but it's just few and far between from the epicness that God of War is known to bring. And when you get those moments, it's like, oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. These big, huge, gigantic things that are larger than life that you are engaging with for some reason and winning. That's the type of stuff that I go to for God of War. So it's really just trying to get good to those parts, but really enjoying it. It's really well done.
So you never finished the 2018 God of War then?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You mentioned the blades thing, because that's a component in that first game.
Did he get blades in? Because I got all the way to the end where they find out, Loki, and he has blades by then.
Yeah, he gets blades like 2/3 into the game.
Well, it feels like I only ever use the axe, and now I'm using the blades like they're going out of style. I feel like there's like in here, like I'm using the blades to could you swing around with the blades in the first one as well? Like,
like travel with them? I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay, because I feel like I'm like, oh, this is new. This is like, oh, and some of it's a lot faster. So yeah, I just remember using the Leviathan axe all the time. Maybe it's because I couldn't. It was so hard to upgrade items that I was just leaning on one.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, I do that in games all the time.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm the same way. No, I played with the axe throughout the first game, even when I got the blades, but in the second game, it makes more sense because everything's like cold. And so you've got these fire blades. And so it just makes a better match, I think.
Right.
So yeah, I used the blades most in Ragnarok.
yeah.
Can I give a confession for you guys? I never played a God of War game.
Oh my goodness.
I played a little tiny bit of the one that Russ got me for Christmas last year.
Is that
But that was
2018?
it.
What'll get you? Ragnarok, I think.
No,
Or no,
that was
this
the
got you
first one.
2018 then. Okay.
Ragnarok wasn't out yet.
Okay,
I played
yeah,
a
must
little
have
bit
been
of it,
2018.
and it was cool, but I just got distracted by shiny stuff.
God of War 2 is probably like one of the pinnacles of it's such a good. God of War 3 is also very good, to be honest. God of War 3 for PS3. So if you can play on PS3 emulation, both of those are very good, and they have the same feel with the camera on rails.
Cool.
That's true.
Rich, tell us about Maze Mice.
Yeah, so Maze Mice is Vampire Survivors meets Pac-Man, made by the developer
Shit.
of Luck Be a Landlord. So,
Oh my God.
so I've been jamming on this game. This game is fun. Yeah, it's exactly what I said, right? Like you're a mouse traversing like a Pac-Man style maze, but it's a Vampire Survivor style gameplay where you get like power-ups and those weapons just kind of auto fire. And then like, it's not just weapons, but you can also like increase your speed or get this power up that increases your speed. You can increase like your cooldown rate, so that it's faster. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different like levels and power ups or boons, I guess you say, and it's really fun. By the time this episode comes out, I think it's going to be back at $9.99. But even at that price, I think it's worth it. And there's a demo, so also just try the demo.
I was this close to buying it, and I saw that there was a demo, so I'm going to hold off.
Play the demo for sure.
I love that it says Bullet Heaven roguelike. I love it when it says Bullet Heaven because that means that it might be a little easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love being OP'd in games. So yeah, I love that.
I don't think it's too hard for you at all. At least not what I've played so far. There are different maps with different enemies and you progress and stuff like that, but you can get a good solid, run and not run into anything crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Russ, what have you been playing, man?
So I've been doing a lot of game testing. I'm working on, I'm downloading a game as we're talking. This is the iNeo Pocket S2 or whatever. I'm finally going to make my video for it this weekend. And I was doing some battery testing last night and I was like, all right, let's see how long I can play PlayStation 2 on this thing, from full charge to zero. And so usually I just find a spot in a game and let it run where it's like challenging for the CPU, but I was like, you know what? Let's just play Metal Gear Solid 3 for a while. And so I played that for a couple hours and, part of it was like getting ready for Snake Eater too, it's always been my least favorite Metal Gear Solid game, but, I don't know. I think maybe just because I, have a little more patience nowadays as opposed to when I first played it when I was just trying to get to more story and I didn't want to do all the camouflage stuff and whatnot. It's okay game. I still think I'm probably going to like the modern conveniences of whatever they add to Snake Eater. So, it's a fun game. It's just weird to kind of go back and play it on a PS2 emulation. It just feels very dated nowadays.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, that's going to do it for the episode. But before we get out of here, make sure that you subscribe to all of these guys' channels. Russ, tell everybody what stuff you're working on so that they know what they're going to go get when they subscribe to Retro Game Core.
Well, so that iNeo Pocket S2 video is coming out this weekend. And then early next week, I am going to be doing a video on the 1X Sugar. That's that like contraption transformer foldable handheld thing. So they don't want me showing anything about it. Yeah, it's real and it's in my hands, but they don't want me talking about it until the actual release, which you can take that for what it's worth. Anyway, that'll be a very interesting video too.
Okay. Rich, what are you working on, man?
Doing a news video, and I finished, I don't have it quite fully edited yet, but I talk about like Valve's backlog stuff and just really, you remember the thing we talked about last week where that's how Valve makes their money is through your backlog, through you essentially, but give it kind of more of a historical look and compare it to how other gaming companies make their money. So that should be out.
When's that coming out?
Sometime this week, probably later this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carrie, what have you been working on, man?
This week I just played video games and did work because I did 2 videos last week, so I gave myself like a little bit of a break. But the one that I'm starting to work on starting today is the MSI Claw that Intel sent me to re-review it with their latest drivers to show the performance increase. So that's the one I'm doing, and then I probably have that 1X Sugar sometime later as well. But the MSI Claw has to come out first.
Very good. So I have, I do news. I've been trying to plan out my week a little bit better. So my goal is to have the podcast usually come out on Tuesdays, and then I have my own news roundup come on Fridays, which I've been doing that for a couple of weeks now. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those news roundups and I'm going to add them to my RSS feed for this podcast, just so that people can listen to them if they don't feel like going to YouTube to watch them. So if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast player, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff, you might see extra episodes in there. That's what those are. They're going to be shorter. They won't be as long as these episodes. But make sure that you go check out youtube.com/retrogamecore, youtube.com/fanthedeck, and youtube.com/thefox, and subscribe here before you go. You guys could have been anywhere, but you just spent an hour and a half with us. I appreciate that. But before we get out of here, I just want to say a big thank you again to Encore for sponsoring this episode. If you want to join Encore and either add to your collection or clean out your house, then head on over to buyoncore.com/invite/nerdnest. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Stay rad, everybody.